Hi guys, welcome and who dat? I'm Joe, and today I'm bringing you a preview for the Week 3 matchup between our beloved New Orleans Saints as they travel to take on the Carolina Panthers, our NFC South division rivals. Last year we split with the Panthers. We lost the first game in Carolina last year. Sam Darnold was the quarterback then. Now their quarterback is Baker Mayfield. The Saints have won, I think, 9 out of the last 11 games against Carolina. Carolina's head coach, Matt Rule, uh, is kind of a consensus worst head coach in the league. Apparently, he's only won one game as a head coach in which the opposing team has scored 17 points or more. Now, this is a brand new Carolina team this year, so I'm not going to sit back here and say what a lot of the other pundits are saying, that Atlanta and Carolina are probably the two worst football teams in the National Football League. Well, that would be great if it were true. But I'm not sure what the difference is between someone that's in the middle of the pack and someone like Atlanta or Carolina, because every team is a professional football team. They all have the same salaries. And, you know, some teams can't put it together. Some teams have really bad days, bad years. But every team should be considered a challenge. And I think Carolina's a special challenge because they have two players that the Saints really need to worry about. Even though Carolina's offense is struggling, Baker Mayfield is a pretty mobile quarterback, and that gives the Saints problems. And from the pocket, I think he's probably a better quarterback than Mariota. And Christian McCaffrey is probably one of the most elusive, versatile backs there is in the league. The difference between McCaffrey and Cordero Patterson of the Falcons is size. So McCaffrey's a fit football player, but he's not somebody that anyone's scared to tackle. Cordero, he, when he was running the ball, you'd see a lot of our DBs kind of running along with him, trying to get to that sweet spot to tackle him. I think everybody's going to be gearing up to go right at McCaffrey, and he is so quick, much like Kamara. He can make one move and make you miss. And also, like Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey is the elite when it comes to receiving. I think as far as yardage goes, since both of them have been in the league, I think Alvin Kamara is number one in receiving yards for running backs, and McCaffrey's number two. And McCaffrey has missed a lot of time with injury. He's limping around this week. The Saints are as well, though. Let's bring up the offense for the Saints. Nothing's changed as far as the official roster goes here. Uh, we've made a lot of moves on the practice squad, but as of right now, it looks like everyone's practicing, and those who missed last week due to injury are at least practicing on a limited basis. I guess our biggest concern is whether Jameis Winston is playing through this back injury and it's causing him problems with his accuracy, or if he's if he's going to perform like this, whether he's injured or not. That's my deal with Jameis Winston. We have the doctor saying he can play with this injury. He's got four cracked vertebrae or fractured vertebrae in his back. The doctors say it won't get any worse. Well, he acquired the injury playing football, so naturally, it seems obvious it could get worse. They say it won't, and they say that he can play through it. It's a pain tolerance issue. So If it's affecting his accuracy is the question, and his ability to throw deep was obviously off last week, and that's his go-to card right there. So it seemed like something was wrong. Well, how can you tell? Well, the head coach says we don't see an issue in practice. Well, see, my opinion is James Winston's so inaccurate anyway that you can't tell that this injury is bothering him because he misses half his passes anyway. That's my opinion. This would be the time to sit Winston and start the quality backup that you acquired with Andy Dalton. Now, I'm not saying Andy Dalton's better than Winston. I'm saying that if Winston's injury is causing him problems, this would be a good game to go with Dalton. Last week wouldn't have been a bad game either, since the injury had just happened to Winston right before that game. That I'm still convinced that this injury's holding Winston back. What I saw last week in Tampa Bay from Jameis Winston was not what I'd seen in preseason, and he was dealing with injuries back then too. But I digress. The most important one here to me, because I think Dalton would do a fine job at quarterback, the most important injury to look at for me here is Alvin Kamara, who missed last week. And although we ran the ball well, I think our offense lacked a lot of creativity without someone with the versatility of Alvin Kamara in the backfield. Well, Alvin's been at practice on a limited basis. I'm hoping he plays. We're going to need him. He doesn't typically do great against NFC South foes most of the time, but like I say, it opens up the offense. It'll make Winston better. If Winston can just dump it off to Kamara and let something happen, it'll make Winston better. The other injury to look out for is on the defensive side. We're going to bring the defense up. Paulson Adebo hasn't played all year yet. He's been at practice all week on a limited basis. So I'm hoping he'll be able to play this Sunday in Carolina. He is dealing with an ankle injury. And last week and the week before, we had to ride with Bradley Roby on the outside. Things were fine. Things have been fine in the slot with Justin Evans there, and Alontae Taylor showed a lot on the outside once Marshawn Lattimore got hurt last week. But you don't want to go too far in the depth chart. PJ Williams is the one that got picked on for the touchdown pass, the only offensive touchdown from Tampa Bay last week. So it'd be nice to have Adebo back. Adebo was the star of training camp, and he's our second best corner. Marshawn Lattimore, of course, is probably the most talented player on the defense. He and Demario Davis. But there's a difference between those two players. Demario Davis has controlled football anger, whereas Marshawn Lattimore lets the heat of the moment get the best of him all too often. And Lattimore could have been the player of the game last week. He was shutting down everybody he was going against. The only catches that Mike Evans had that resulted in anything were when they put him in motion and he wasn't against 1-on-1 against Lattimore. This week against the Carolina Panthers, I don't think we have to worry too much about what they have going on offense, with the exception of McCaffrey, and making sure that if we're in man coverage, Baker Mayfield doesn't take off running. Our defense should be able to handle their wide receivers and tight ends. Our defense should be able to get some pressure on Mayfield if he decides to stay in that pocket and throw. I'm assuming we're going to force a couple of turnovers, and I think we'll probably have at least 2 sacks this week. Okay, so the game. Keys to the game. Like I said, stop Baker Mayfield from running around like a crazy person. Make sure, the Christian McCaffrey is held in check as a runner. And make sure you have a good game plan for when they decide to to get the ball to McCaffrey in space. I don't want to see Robbie Anderson running around wide open behind the linebackers. Our defense should be able to handle Carolina. I can't think of much more that could happen with their offense. I mean, we're going to be in man coverage. Baker's going to take off running. Or Christian McCaffrey's going to find just a quick seam, a small seam, and quickly get through it. It's our offense that I'm worried about. They got a decent defensive line, decent linebackers, some good cornerbacks. So we're going to have to work hard, but we can do it if we put out the best product that our offense is capable of, which means I'm going to have to see a lot more from Jameis Winston. I would like to see some more short to medium throws, quick three-step throws, a rhythm offense. Doesn't have to be no huddle. It just has to be mindful of getting the ball out of Winston's hands quick into high percentage passes and let our playmakers, make a move. I think Alvin Kamara and Marcus or Michael Thomas should be targeted the most. Jarvis Landry is always a great X factor. And Jawan Johnson at tight end. Wow. I mean, he's our most productive tight end so far. Taysom Hill's dealing with an injury right now. He's questionable this week. He got hurt running the ball, I think, last week. When it comes to our passing offense, it seems Jawan Johnson's the tight end of choice. All right, so that's it. That's what I've got. I'm figuring that the Saints are going to win this game. They're favored by 3. I'm going Saints 16, Panthers 13. And I got to see more from the Saints offense before I can start putting them at 20 points or higher anymore. I mean, we got to, if they put it all together, it looks pretty promising, but that's all on the shoulders of Jameis Winston. There you go. I'm Joe. Subscribe to Rosenfield 10 for more videos like this, and I'll talk to you after the game this weekend. Until then, who dat?